Disney princesses to not yet be reimagined in such a way are Merida, Raya, Pocahontas, Tiana, and Rapunzel. The latter, however, will not be counted among that list for too much longer. 16 years after the original release, which now seems like an eternity against the near decade it took to remake Moana, Rapunzel and Flynn Rider are getting the inevitable remake treatment. This one may have flown under the radar since the project was initially shelved. Though announced in 2024, the poor box office performance of Snow White shook Disney's confidence in the concept, until Lilo and Stitch stormed across the $1 billion mark and set the world to rights again. Since then, Tegan Croft and Milo Manheim have been cast as Rapunzel and Flynn, respectively. And the rumours suggest that the slam-dunk casting of Catherine Hahn as Mother Gothel may be imminent. Cujo. Stephen King has always been a popular source for film and TV adaptations. However, in recent years, this has excelled to ridiculous levels. The Life of Chuck, Salem's Lot, The Long Walk, The Running Man, The Monkey, The Institute, and It, Welcome to Derry all came out within the last 2 years. And the aforementioned Carrie reboot on the books for 2026. Add to this a new version of arguably one of the prolific writer's more upsetting stories, Cujo, rebooting the original 1983 outing that itself adapted King's novel of the same name from 2 years ago. The story revolves around a family dog, the titular Simba, getting bitten by a bat and going on what is a rabid killing spree. At one point, trapping a mother and son in a car and forcing a kill or be killed situation. Think Old Yeller, but even harder to watch. There is no current timetable for the film's release, nor has anything been revealed with regards to casting or story outside of the source material itself. All it is known right now is that Wally Lee will take the producer's chair for yet another King adaptation. It will release on Netflix and will, in all likelihood, be traumatizing. Basic Instinct. There are some films that feel so iconic and caught lightning in a bottle in such a way that the very idea of a reboot feels off from the very start. 1992's Basic Instinct certainly falls into this category. If we're being totally honest, the film is largely remembered for that one scene above anything else. Something that of course wouldn't fly the same way today as it did 30 years ago, even in the context of it being the erotic thriller that it is. So it begs the question, why would anyone look at Basic Instinct and decide it needed another go around? And also, why would Joe Esterhaaz return to write it? Esterhaaz penned the original and has been tapped to do the same this time around, in a similar way to how Jurassic Park scribe David Koepp wrote Rebirth. This, however, is as a legacy sequel desperately trying to reclaim that original magic rather than a complete reboot. As if there wasn't already a big enough mountain to climb, original star Sharon Stone has added a few feet to the top by coming out and questioning it. There has already been a critically panned revisit to the franchise with a sequel in 2006, which Stone seemingly thinks is reason enough to believe the reboot doesn't stand a chance either. Faces of Death. Some movies have found fame over the years, largely because of factors outside of the runtime itself. The perception of the Blair Witch Project, for example, and the whole debate over whether it was real or not, lent it an air of mystery and intrigue that simply couldn't be matched by any sequel or remake that followed. And the same will likely be said about Faces of Death. The original from 1978 caused a similar stir in regards to people not knowing exactly how much reality was on screen. While the Blair Witch Project presented the film as a real-life history, Faces of Death forced audiences to question whether the violence being shown on screen was real or not. As such, the upcoming remake will likely suffer, as it doesn't have this external mystique surrounding it. Instead, the plot will play with the idea, with a content moderator having to try and figure out whether reenactments of the first film's violence are real. Unfortunately, this reboot appears to be missing out the uncertainty and controversy that drove audiences to see the original. And so this will likely go the way of the Blair Witch remake, in that no one will either watch it or care. Charlie's Angels. Charlie's Angels was something of a staple of the early 2000s action scene, with the initial big-screen reboot of the TV series dropping in 2000 before the sequel, full throttle, released 3 years later. Unfortunately, the 2018 reimagining simply couldn't get off the ground. Going even further than that, it was arguably one of the most talked about box office bombs in recent memory. Director Elizabeth Banks has since expressed some strong opinions on why the film failed, while star Kristen Stewart has herself even said that it was never going to work without the involvement of Cameron Diaz, Lucy Liu, and Drew Barrymore. According to new reports, however, that could change with yet another reboot just 7 years after the last. Yes, Sony is Diaz has returned recently. Whether or not this will be enough to reignite the franchise is impossible to say. But almost automatically, it will likely lend the new version more interest than the previous one right off the bat. Desperate Housewives. Arguably, TV shows can be harder for audiences to let go of than films. Watching weekly episodes or binging at home for potentially years and decades can form attachments that some may not be ready to give up on when the time comes. As such, Desperate Housewives creator Mark Cherry has been constantly bombarded with questions about when and if the show would return. Though his own idea may have been a prequel, the iconic cul-de-sac will be revisited in a reboot surrounding a completely new cast of characters. Wisteria Lane, set to be produced by Kerry Washington, will bring the same premise of the picture-perfect, tight-knit community of frenemies, awash with an undercurrent of dark secrets. The initial details forego any mention of any returning characters, but there is always room for a little nostalgia in these projects, and if Eva Longoria wants to show her face, would anyone truly be against it? While some reboots, many that are on this list, try and take the project in a truly different and sometimes radical direction. The intent here seems to be to keep the tone as close to the original series as possible, only with a bit more social media involved. And honestly, this seems like a natural next step, and could work in the show's favour. Magic. Sam Raimi is a name that has been synonymous with horror ever since the iconic Evil Dead in 1981. The last 2 decades have in fact seen the man direct more Marvel movies than horror outings, but 2026 saw his triumphant return to the genre. Send Help was simply exceptional from beginning to end, and thankfully Raimi is sticking with horror in the near future. Though not in the director's chair this time, he will act as producer for a remake of Magic. The 1978 outing was directed by Richard Attenborough and revolved around the ventriloquist dummy of Anthony Hopkins' Porky going on a common screen. Raimi will be joined on the project by several other names familiar with the world of horror. Weapons Roy Lee will also be producing, while the script will be penned by Mark Swift and Damien Shannon, writers of Freddy vs. Jason and the remake of Friday the 13th. Whether such a film can live up to the likes of Anthony Hopkins and Richard Attenborough remains to be seen. But with Raimi involved, audiences could be in for a fun ride. Judge Dredd. When Dredd released in 2012 was a new take on the franchise that first appeared on screen with Judge Dredd in 1995, it achieved something that eludes most fans. It wasn't completely hated, and there were actually calls for a sequel that were never answered. Carl Urban followed in Sylvester Stallone's footsteps nicely, but no further projects came. Instead, there is a new Judge Dredd movie on the horizon, this time being made at the hands of Taika Waititi. After Thor Ragnarok, the director became a mainstream sensation, and went on to make the exceptional Jojo Rabbit, and became involved in the Star Wars universe. However, the abysmal Thor Love and Thunder saw his stock plummet. There appears to be little to no interest in his Star Wars film, which is reportedly still in works, and even less in his reimagining of Judge Dredd. It's hard to picture the typical Judge Dredd character and tone combining well with Waititi's trademark brand of silly humour. Of course, this was the case before he took on the God of Thunder, which suggests that the project does have the potential to be a fun new direction for the franchise. But it could also be another Love and Thunder, and nobody wants that. The Magnificent Seven. Perhaps reboots would have been looked at with such a stigma if studios took films that never quite lived up to their potential, or bad films that could have been good and gave them another chance. That, by and large, however, is not what happens. Reboots are genuinely plays on nostalgia, and standing on the shoulders of what came before, which is why The Magnificent Seven will be getting yet another iteration. Widely considered one of the greatest westerns of all time, there is nothing more to bring to this particular table. Classics like these should be left alone, and while you'd be forgiven for thinking that lesson may have been learned after the largely forgettable 2016 remake, that seemingly won't be the case. What could possibly happen another decade later to make another go at the Magnificent Seven worth doing? While both the 1960 version and the 2016 version were built on ensemble casts, the only casting news so far is of Matt Dillon portraying Chris Adams, the character previously played by Ewan Grinner almost 70 years ago. Unfortunately, it feels as though regardless of the cast for this one, the project will be doomed to fail. Threads. While it's true that many reboots are created with a vision of bringing something from the past back into relevancy, this entry covers something slightly different. The subject covered in Threads, the English TV movie from 1984. It's just as relevant when it released as it is in the modern day. The film took an unflinching and brutal yet realistic look, without exaggeration or pandering, at the effects of a nuclear war. It is the kind of thing one doesn't forget, with images that simply cannot be unseen. Of course, the idea of a nuclear fallout is something that doesn't exactly seem outside the realms of possibility in the current climate, and so revisiting Threads is an understandable move to make. The fact that it is being brought to life by the same people who created Adolescence, one of the most talked about shows of the last few years, suggests that this is going to be good, and people are going to take notice. Something that appears to be different right away, though, is that a synopsis has told of how the new Threads will explore hope in trying times, something that the original director, Mick Jackson, has taken exception to. Threads was never about hope. There was never a light at the end of the tunnel. There simply were no winners. It will be extremely interesting to see exactly how this is handled. Night at the Museum. With Night at the Museum, Fox and Sean Levy created a perfect family franchise that remained enjoyable and never outstayed its welcome. It's a solid trilogy, and you could argue that both fans and creators couldn't ask for anything more than that. However, calls for a fourth film have been persistent. The 2022 animated Night at the Museum Carnival Rises Again on Disney Plus, failing to scratch that itch. While Ben Stiller may have returned to the Sandlerverse in recent years, and with Brother-in-Law on the horizon, it seems a return to the Smithsonian is largely out of the question. Rather than a new installment in the original series, Night at the Museum is getting a revamp and a reboot. Though currently outside of Sean Levy's return as a producer and the fact that it will focus on a new story with new characters, there isn't too much known for the moment. The threequel, Secret of the Tomb, only released in 2014, but it seems as though Hollywood is waiting less and less time to reboot properties these days. Has enough time passed for fans to open themselves up to a museum without Stiller front and centre? Who can say? The Holiday. It may make viewers of a certain age feel even older that The Holiday turns 20 years old in 2026. It's a bona fide Christmas classic with a lot of heart, and anybody brave enough to try rebooting it will have some big shoes to fill. Enter Apple TV Plus, where a limited series adaptation of the story is in the works. The same basic premise will remain, where two women on opposite sides of the Atlantic Ocean trade houses and find love in the process, but with an entirely new cast of actors and characters. The original was able to boast the star power of Kate Winslet and Cameron Diaz, alongside rom-com royalty Jude Law, and one of the best performances of Jack Black's career, without any one of them standing out above the rest. Seriously, there is a reason why the film is so loved 2 decades later, and that kind of magic feels like it will remain elusive. Its charm and wit, the chemistry between the two pairs of actors, and the characters audiences almost have no choice but to root for, are going to be incredibly hard to recreate, and anything less is likely going to feel like a disappointment. The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. There have been 2 major adaptations of the iconic Girl with the Dragon Tattoo from 2005. The 2009 Swedish trilogy starring Movie Pass was strong, while David Fincher's 2011 outing, arguably one of his most underrated efforts, never evolved into a full millennium trilogy. Fincher's effort, as is to be expected, was an outstanding piece. However, even with a runtime of 2 hours and 38 minutes, it couldn't delve as deep into the story, the narrative, and the themes of the source material, in particular the ending. The film certainly still worked, however, compared to the novel, a lot of aspects felt almost skimmed over and rushed. A series allowing for far more exploration of the characters and their intertwining casts and relationships could well be the right move for the story. Should Sky's efforts be able to bring to life a successful adaptation of the first Millennium book, there's no reason to think that further seasons couldn't adapt to the further novels. And finally, The Mist. The Venn diagram of Mike Flanagan projects and Stephen King works has overlapped before, and will do so again. 2019's Doctor Sleep and 2024's The Life of Chuck will be joined in this by 2026's Carrie reboot, as well as Flanagan's take on The Mist. The novel was originally released in 1980, and the 2007 adaptation from Frank Darabont starring Thomas Jane has become infamous for one of the bleakest film endings of all time. There is a constant looming danger over reboots such as these, whereby there has to be a reason for doing it. Complete
Which one?
Since Darabon's ending was a huge departure from that of the books, it's safe to say audiences won't have to see anybody needlessly kill their own son again. But there is certain to be other horrors to endure all the same.
Alright, let's get this spiel over. 43 seconds of logos. Contest. When you're the 8th movie of a franchise and your production company is called Original Film, at point do you consider a name change? Also, you have a Goosebumps sequel and a Sonic the Hedgehog movie coming out soon, so it's time to invest in a U and an N for your name, in case you confused it with Havana, India. You see, it's different this time because they're using classic cars this time.
Make a deal you gotta live up to. Make a deal you gotta live up to.
Dom's in the new country in this chapter, so therefore the movie has to manufacture some bold conflict so we can get a classic Fast and Furious race in before it becomes XXX Ocean 17 identity.
He knows it doesn't matter what's under a hood. The only thing that matters is who's behind the wheel.
Okay then, I'd like to see you race this guy driving a 1985 Toyota Camry.
We ain't racing a quarter mile here. We race the Cuban mile.
It's like a baker's dozen, only with empanadas instead of donuts.
Done.
Dom agrees to race this asshole in this dilapidated old truck because the movie is unsure if the audience realizes how good a driver Dom really is. So the stakes against him have to keep going up, even past the point of insanity.
Laughing gas?
Nah, man. This is Cuban Nas.
Is there a difference between Cuban NOS and regular NOS? But NOS stood for nitrous oxide, like, as in, if it were any different, it would no longer be NOS, but some other compound entirely. Conspicuous Coke can confounds consumers calculating cola comparisons.
He needs to go, Ma.
A Cuban? Well, Dom, I wonder what the casting call is like for the flag girls in this franchise. Like, they must tell them, you won't be in any other movies after this, but on the plus side, you'll get to show your ass to everybody. This is broad daylight. I realize Cuba is a foreign communist country, but I still don't think they allow Havana streets to be shut down for drag races without some cops showing up. Motorcycle traffic stoppers look out by getting a wide space to stop traffic in time and not get run over. How have they not already gone a mile? Yeah, I know, it's a Cuban mile. But how have they not already gone the amount of distance I think a Cuban mile is?
Okay, Buster. Let's see if this works.
This works. It's not enough for Dom to win this race with a bad car. It also has to catch fire before the finish line. This is all these movies summed up in one scene, honestly. Also, sure, this car can drive and drive fast while on fire. It's just Cuban fire. Cue movie. Yeah, but they have this slow technology to figure out if Dom actually won? You know, it would have been more awesome to actually see the car at full speed crash into the water without 5 cuts. What, is this motherfucker Gandhi now?
Well, my car. You earn my respect.
I'll bet $10,000 right now Dom asks this guy for a favor before the end of the movie.
Yours was too slow for a Chihuahua anyway. You're an father?
So let that be a lesson to you, kids. You can somehow make a deal with a gangster, not fulfill your end of the bargain, have a cousin who just happens to be in your hometown who's a legendary street racer trying to race your piece of car against the gangster's car at a terrible disadvantage. Have your cousin destroy that car during the race, then have the same cousin give you his awesome car, and have absolutely no consequences at all. So they keep trying to invent new ways to keep all these movies' titles confusing and overlapping. Fate rhymes with 8. Hilarious. Letty and Dom's love. The heart and soul of this entire frame. Hey, wait a second.
How's that honeymoon going, Dom?
Cypher decides the best way to get Dom's attention is to fake a breakdown, rather than go to some of the many places she's about to rattle off that she knows Dom goes to every day.
Is this the road you take to your apartment every morning? What else is different, Dom? Santiago is closed.
How does Dom, who has no job and is simply hanging out in Cuba, have a predictable routine every morning?
Oh, and Dom.
So I heard Cypher open the door to her car, but I'm pretty sure she never closed that hood. Also, she shows him something on a phone that we don't see that causes him to betray his friends and family. I think it's pretty clear she showed him the Sins video for Furious 7. Movies continue to think we need to know the longitude and latitude of a new place during a scene change. The Rock coaches girls soccer was probably a movie idea at one time, during that Tooth Fairy phase. Thank God we finally got to see a nod to that cinematic greatness here. Movie that is over 2 hours has time for this. Hey, Hobbs, this important world crisis needs to be brought to your attention at the soccer game. Not before, not after, but now, damn it. Look at, he's just out in the open and in case you confused it with Berlin of Take My Breath Away fame. Also, here's the job Dom and his crew are on mid-operation. We don't need to know how they stole the EMP or what the plan was, because this movie is way more interested in dropping surprise plot twists and girls soccer on you than giving you details of a heist or character motivations. Also, why did the movie give us that scene showing Charlize talking to Dom? Now we know to expect something weird from him. Imagine if we experienced this job the way his teammates do and learned of his deception on the spot. That would have been way better.
Bombs away.
Seriously, how did the team get in here and set up all these bombs and gadgets without anyone seeing it? And this motherfucker is attached to a wrecking ball. don't care how he did it, someone would have noticed. Also, why not set up bombs on the roadway instead of hoping the wrecking ball plan works? Oh, it's so we can see all those cars get hit by a wrecking ball, isn't it? Earn that paycheck, Tyrese. By the way, considering they didn't tell him about the wrecking ball plan, couldn't he have, like, died? Hobbs survives all kinds of this. Oh, great, another airstrip. Wonder if this one's also 22 miles long. Apparently, a cargo plane can just land on a dime going whatever speed it was going, allow a car to drive onto it, and fly straight up into the air with its rear cargo entrance still open. And no one in the control tower was able to ID that plane's transponder signal or decipher where it went after this using radar. Honestly, this movie suggests a successful takeoff is all this plane needs to get away with it. But that's not how airspace works. Germany would be scrambling some fighters right about now. Why did Letty go to Berlin, bring keepsake pictures of her and Dom, and put them in the glove box of the borrowed or stolen vehicle she drove during the robbery?
Dom is clearly communicating with somebody that's above our pay grade.
Hey, you remember when they introduced Ramsey Bolton? I mean, Missandei to the Fast and Furious crew? And she was some badass hacker or something? Yeah, they still haven't given her anything to do. Deckard's in the same prison? What are the odds?
Yeah, good luck with that, Hercules.
I love how characters in both Central Intelligence and Fate of the Furious refer to The Rock as Hercules, as if this meta joke is something side-splittingly hilarious.
Full show and no go.
This prison rivalry is still going on.
Because where I'm from, we don't settle fights by throwing bombs.
Well, that's funny because where I'm from.
Skip!
That's a malfunction.
What? What? Also, if tasing one cell's camera electrical thingy opens all the cells, then the designer of this prison is facing a serious lawsuit after this. This editing and this camera work. The Rock's punches are made of dynamite or a Sharknado or something. Omnipotence this pronounced makes me wonder why you can't steal the MacGuffin thing back via your own general godlike abilities, rather than recruiting a bunch of car thieves. A location so undisclosed, the movie doesn't even know.
6, 8, 9, 10.
So literally half the Interpol top 10 is made up of members of this crew? Is that even possible? Isn't T.P. Cooper still out there?
Her digital identity is scrubbed every few seconds worldwide.
What? Also, despite this, we knew who we were looking for when we took this picture of her.
I'm bringing in an extra pair of hands.
You know, your mortal enemy. That's a big surprise, which definitely builds trust between all of us. I had him waiting outside until I gave him an electric shock to cue him into the room. Also, this franchise is officially Pirates of the Caribbean, where everybody changes their good guy and bad guy status to fit some sort of crazy-ass narrative. Somehow, this secret government doesn't have anyone as good as this guy with computers.
Now, aside from myself, there's only 2 men in the world that have ever managed to actually track me down with any success.
Plus one woman, so that's 4 people at least. So he apparently isn't that hard to find. But sure, we'll still need Shaw for some reason.
So like it or not, you two are going to work together.
It's just like in all those other movies that paired up 2 cops criminals that hated each other.
He's still green.
Yeah, like fresh babies. All right, they're not in China.
Thanks for holding our hand during this, Tej.
Europe's clear.
You too, girl, they sometimes give lines to.
This is interesting. Why? Because that's here.
You mean Dom and Cypher were attacking this place at the same time they were being tracked? What great dramatic timing! Dom shoots a whole bunch of glass for some reason, as if he lives his life 3/4 through the script of Die Hard at a time. We're supposed to be reminded that Dom is now evil, but everything about this movie tells me he's just faking and will turn good at the last second, so like this is lost on me.
We can't bring Brian and Mia into this.
Can't you just make a phone call? Do they even have to be dragged into the situation to help?
The problem with putting your foot on a tiger's neck is you can never let it
The
out.
problem with lines like this is the movie thinks they're cool sounding, which they're not, but also that they make no goddamn sense. Oh, that's Elena from... Oh, crap. Which one was it? I think it's the 3rd one. No, it's the 4th one, for sure. Wait, it might even be the 5th one. A baby? So I guess that YouTube video she showed him earlier in Cuba was of this gal in captivity? Even so, how was that enough to get Dom to go 100% rogue to the point where he wouldn't even tip off Letty or the others somehow? Unexpected Elena? Like everyone else.
I didn't realize I was pregnant. You had just found out Letty was alive.
This is where the Fast and Furious franchise officially became the days of our lives. It's amazing how side chicks be getting pregnant just before the last time you saw them. Vin Diesel's Oscar clip. Cypher gives Dom a gun and goes through all the reasons why he won't kill her, ultimately saying there's a bunch of dudes ready to kill the son you didn't know you had up until 2 minutes ago. I don't know why she even bothered with this exercise, since I thought it was already common knowledge, but bloated movies gotta bloat, yo.
Satellites and radar grids all across the globe shift like an ocean.
If you say so.
So you know where Dom is headed?
Yeah, New York.
Wait, was he online chatting with somebody who knew where Dom was headed? Did he post a query on Usenet or something? I think it would be a lot more awesome to know how he did this, even if you had to go through some sort of Ant-Man explanation. Speeding like this on this famous bridge brings out 0 cops. Weird. Dom just happens to be driving over a bridge that Roman and Tej are currently driving under. That may be the least believable moment in this movie, including the submarine crash.
Welcome to our new base of operations.
AKA God's Car Warehouse. Yes, the Fast and Furious series has always been about cars, but this is pushing it to some total bullshit. This is like all the cars.
It's neon orange. She'll choose anything. less conspicuous.
Dude, this entire warehouse of cars has nothing conspicuous.
I like your beard. You're Black Santa?
I got an ATM.
Dom can see this ATM from here, which is fine, I guess, but where is it? You and I both know there's no ATM outside that red building there. We'll find out later that Dom got help to block the ATM camera so that he could set up some plan with Shaw's mom. But how did he communicate his plan with everybody when he's being monitored? Are you saying that Cypher trusts Dom enough to allow him to communicate to people unmonitored? Whatever the case may be, he orchestrated impossible connections in an impossible amount of time.
To give you something back.
There is no way Dom does this in 5 minutes. I mean, come on, gone.
And I'm gonna knock your teeth so far down your throat, you're gonna stick a toothbrush right up your ass to brush them.
Movie believes that we anticipate a rock statement fight so much that we'll be delighted with several scenes devoted to dick swinging. The God's Eye really is the only true conclusion to Hollywood's zoom and enhance obsession. It was always going to end this way.
It's zombie time.
Oh, it was zombie time by the 4th or 5th movie, but at least you're finally acknowledging it. Why do you even need Dom, let alone badly need him for this job?
Nice talking.
Ouch.
I guess this is kind of cool and all, but this is a super complicated way to get what you want. If you've got God's Eye, you can find anyone, anywhere in the world. With your connections and know-how, did it really require a bunch of hacked cars crashing into him to get what she wants?
Check out the lead and follow cars.
Luckily, there's a car dealership full of cars we can hack that can crash into them right now. Remember, this is all just to steal a case from one man. Overkill watched this movie and walked out after finding it excessive.
I'm getting you send the goddamn Boy Scouts! Just send them some help!
Now that's dumb.
It's actually not, though. Dom hasn't done dick yet. It's actually 1,000 autonomous cars controlled by Charlize and one hacker guy. But Dom is just kind of following along and watching. So whatever. Even after that repeated lecture about choosing inconspicuous cars, all these motherfuckers drive out into battle in the most conspicuous cars ever. And all that car control utter bull technobabble was just to set up this raining car shop. And sometimes, guys, the visual is not worth the flimsy explanation you wait for. Also, seriously, there are this many cars that you can hack remotely. I don't doubt there would be a lot, but this movie makes it sound like every single car everyone drives is hooked up to a network.
Target immobilized.
You're up, Dom.
Oh, she needed 1,000 cars to immobilize the Russian guy. But Dom is super important as the guy that then goes in to grab the case. Any hired goon could take over here, lady. The more this series focuses on spectacle, the more they raise the middle finger to people who want even a sliver of logic or consistency.
Give me the case.
This is how the usual suspects foiled New York's finest taxi service, only way louder and stupider. And I won't be needing this anymore.
I think I know where my team's at.
Where?
Right in front of you.
I mean, God, these movies. Everything has to be some sort of reveal. Looking for someone? They're in the building right now. Found your team? Make your boss gasp before revealing they're here right now.
Police scanners are saying he started the case.
What? First of all, police even broadcast that panic-inducing information on channels they know some citizens and journalists listen to. Also, how would anyone know that this soon after it happened in order to even broadcast it on police scanners in the first place? I don't know what's funnier, that there's nobody who needs to go down this street, or that this guy just totally ran a red light and didn't give a or these people casually sitting down next to the cars watching the movie. If only there were cops in this city. I love how this is so clearly impossible. The filmmakers cut several times during this book to cover up all the times this car crashed doing this stunt. Whoever put together this scene has clearly never driven in Manhattan before. Miles of open road? Enough to stare down at your ex? Enough to engage the nos? Somehow, with all the stupid they tossed out in brainstorming for this movie, you still made the final cut. That are clearly already going as fast as they can, complete with a NOS injection, and yet there's always another gear that these assholes can try. Like, there's a theoretical notch on the stick that summons Dumbledore to make your ride sicker.
You gotta have about 2,000 horsepower in that thing. Try 3,000.
Try 5. Whatever it is, it's bull. 5 government-made cars can't stop this thing. Also, does nobody have a gun that can shoot out the tires?
Go!
While Dom is fake reacting to fake killing Deckard, Letty fucking ninjas up on him and steals the case. Somehow.
What are you gonna do?
I feel bad for Charlize Theron in this movie, because for half of it, she's by herself looking at a screen delivering pointless lines.
I don't know why you're doing this, but I know one thing.
You better have a previously heretofore unknown young son being held hostage, or so help me God.
I would just take it from a dead girl.
Love is what finally makes Dom abandon his evil character and break good. Love for Letty over love for his son, or something. I don't really think character motivation is something these movies give much thought to.
Deckard, you didn't make it.
Movie flat out lies to you to set up a stupid reveal later. But also, why are they sad about Deckard's death? He was the villain in the last movie. They don't exactly love that guy, right?
You made the choice to let her go.
And now I have to be one of my own.
So I turned off all the lights and waited until you got here to set up this surprise I'm gonna kill your baby party. This kid would not be calling Dom Dada on his second encounter with him. This is one of the cheapest ploys to pull audience heartstrings ever. Now they're gonna have to find a babysitter.
Connor Rhodes. He's also linked to somebody I'd like to forget.
This movie just became Spectre all of a sudden. Hey, you remember all those characters from previous chapters? They're all tied to one main baddie somehow, even though that's clearly impossible.
Did you send me the codes? The codes will get me the next.
Yeah, but shouldn't you have done something with those codes as soon as you got them? You know, besides setting up that elaborate threat to kill Dom's baby mama and kid. Doesn't Russia know that somebody has their codes and are changing them at this very second? Or are nuclear codes that insecure that if they got stolen, someone really has this kind of power?
The problem we've had with tracking Cypher is there's nothing to trace.
Except for the satellite blind spots that Jason Statham figured out to track Dom's secret flight to New York City, but he didn't bother teaching anyone that, so I guess that knowledge died with him.
We gotta call this in all the way up the chain. Unfortunately, the Russian Minister of Defense got himself involved with an incident on U.S. territory, and two governments aren't talking to each other for a while.
Huh? So you shouldn't even try? Is it really that simple of a reason? Come on. I'm talking about goddamn stolen nuclear codes here, not shooting down a spy plane.
Pray that the apocalypse doesn't come knocking on your mama's front door.
The Rock has reverted back to full WWE mode these days. His movies are suffering for it.
Take whatever vehicle you want. All bets are off.
Yeah, but you're going to ice Russia, and yet some of these fools will still choose Lambos and stupid act like that. Did they parachute these cars on top of this mountain? Are you telling me Russian airspace is this awful they didn't spot a large cargo plane flying through here? Or that the separatists who control this base somehow missed them? Yep, about to drive dangerously on ice and snow in a goddamn Lambo. Common sense beef. Damn, again, and left for dead on the side of the road. I mean, really, only 3 of the 5 heroes make sensible snow vehicle choices.
I tried to take a piss. I didn't even recognize myself.
That's a dick joke right there. If this EMP is as powerful as this movie says it is, then why doesn't it also stop Dom's car dead in its tracks? You know, since it's on top of it.
I think Cypher just rebooted that sub to slave its command system.
Wait, are you telling me this nuclear submarine can be remotely hacked just because Cypher used the EMP? A nuclear submarine? Seriously?
If you can get me into that wheelhouse, I can tap the network and counter-hack Cypher.
Look, I know this car was made by God or whatever, but now it's able to crash into a building and an armored truck like they're not even there? And oh look, the bad guys are at a facility that has all these exposed gas tanks around, so things can explode easily. Isn't that nice?
Knock, knock.
Open up the door, it's real! Who's where? You don't care. Guys, I'm just tired. I actively hope Dom dies, or at the very least fails, every time he does a stunt like this. On top of this, he even kills a ton of bad guys in the process. Can't be this good or lucky. It takes all the tension out of the scenes when the guy doesn't ever lose.
Okay, how do you like this?
Well, it's taken roughly a movie and a half for Ramsey to actually do anything, and we know she's a crazy good hacker. I find it extraordinarily laughable that she could counter-hack Cypher this quickly, since she's supposed to be equally good, if not better.
Hi, Ramsey.
And then she counter-hacks. And I wonder how these two amazing hackers don't have any protections in play when they're off doing their hacking.
They're entering the weapons room.
Yeah, my computer can totally show you detailed heat maps of people running around inside a nuclear sub. God's on my ass. She's just God. By the way, all this punching and kicking and yelling, is this doing anything for you? These are the scenes where the characters who have nothing to do are inserted into the action to fight basically faceless drones, inducing yawning.
She's knocked me out.
Weird that she didn't do that before.
What in the hell are you guys doing? It'll be labeled guidance go.
Why did you say that in the first place? Yep, you've got the upper hand on one person when your entire base just got done. Time for a good cackle, which will ultimately lead to your demise. This is like the guy who sacks the backup quarterback in the fourth quarter in a game his team is losing 67-3.
And we have a countdown.
I'd like to remind at this point that Cypher got access to this missile because she stole nuclear codes from a Russian Minister of Defense. The space was taken over by Russian separatists, and yet the Russian government was still in control of those missiles, apparently. They didn't bother to change or remove those codes from the nuclear football when those guys took over. I find that unlikely, but hey, I guess stupid things happen in the real world all the time.
We got the chip. No next for her.
What are you, a nuke Nazi?
We got company. A lot of company.
A lot of military company. Are they supporting Charlize or just defending a Russian base? Who knows? Who cares? And who let the dogs out?
No.
This is not good!
You have no sympathy from me, Tyrese. You chose the Lambo knowing you were headed to ice Russia. Personally, I feel like this is payback for years of coasting on your part. Despite the fact that Roman is comically spinning on the ice, the Russian terrorist guys can't hit him. Well, really anybody. They're kind of a terrible group of thugs, actually. I don't even know how they took this base over in the first place.
Dawn, do you really want to put that car in gear?
Well, we contemplate whether Dom wants to put this car in gear. He's taking care of his kid. Is there really a bad guy who's feeding his son and changing diapers? I'd love to see that. Oh, maybe not. Tail starts blasting away and gets one of the trucks. The assholes behind it before they get blasted. No, they got one trucks. Reminds me of that old adage, life is always fair and full of constant good luck. Okay, so how's he holding on to the outside of the door? Remember, the door's closed until the tank rips it off. So once that tears off, he better be holding on to the inside of it or else he's done for. Maybe once it rips off, he grabs the outside. That would be an incredible feat, considering the speed at which all this takes place. Come on, guys, kill him! Sweep the leg! If Dom is constantly being monitored on this operation, then how is he getting away with these obvious shenanigans?
Surprise.
Okay, so Dom shot Deckard earlier, and to no one's surprise except Cypher, he's still alive. My question is, how did they plan this? Remember all this? How did Dom know it would come to this? As luck would have it, this entire scene leads to the moment where Deckard is able to chase him to a secluded area to fake his death. Also, with God's eye, how did Cypher not track every movement Deckard made until she could confirm his death? See? I told you. But hilariously, the movie made him so paper thin in the opening scene, it doesn't trust you to remember his face, and has to literally show you who he is. Also, you movie. You mean Dom asked this guy from the beginning to fly from Cuba all the way to New York City to do 5 minutes worth of work? Doesn't Dom have, like, closer connections who could easily do this job?
Congratulations, Dawn. You just killed your son.
How stupid is Cypher right now? She saw the transporter and barred the Bowman 3 minutes ago. Does she really think Dom would be so arrogant if he didn't have his son secured?
You're wrong. I just saved him.
By the way, to play the devil's advocate here, and I will since Charlize Theron is in this movie, Dom is still a little too arrogant here dealing with Cypher. For all he knows, she's crazy enough to crash the plane with her, the Shaw brothers, and his son on.
What do we do now?
We start praying.
Fast and Furious crew must have started praying because Dom in his supercar, a literal deus ex machina, comes to the rescue. Also, they made a car that is too awesome in this movie. No flaws whatsoever. You're literally Superman in this car. Not setting the baby down before fighting.
Back to back. What? Turn the goddamn wheel to the left really quickly.
God damn, this scene just broke the f***ing sin counter. Meanwhile, the movie still has the audacity to steal the kid has headphones on during the gunfight scene from Face Off.
It's right under us. Get out the way.
How did the submarine catch up to the cars? If you're telling me the cars are only going 40 miles an hour, okay, maybe I'll believe you. But they're going pretty much full speed as best they can, am I right? And subs can go like 45 miles an hour tops, correct?
We got this.
Are you okay? Are you okay? Help!
Where's the sick kid? There isn't breathing, man. Help down 911. Oh my god. It's dead, isn't it? Oh, it's fucking dead. Why, God? Why? Take me.
All right. Come and get him.
Dom foolishly believes this indestructible car can be destroyed by a heat-seeking missile. Could just put this in park and watch the thing harmlessly glance off the side view mirror. Well, they finally did it. Fast and Furious franchise just jumped the sub. No, f you. This movie. That is not how fire works. A handful of cars around a guy generally will not save said guy from damage during a raging explosion fire. Just FYI.
How did you find me?
You want to see the old town?
If Dom gave Cypher a necklace by which Deckard could track her, why didn't he pass this information on to his team as well? They lucked out finding her in Russia by guessing her most logical target. But that would have been really handy information to have no matter what. Why did Deckard's death need to be a surprise to the team?
There's only one flaw in your plan.
What's that?
Only one of us has a parachute.
That's extremely presumptuous on your part. But anything that gets us closer to the ending of the movie is fine by me.
Because there's all kind of nuclearism happening under this ice.
Relax. Without the trigger chips, those nukes are harmless.
Not to mention, the entire sub exploded a minute ago. Do you think the nukes survived that?
Is it gonna be Revenge of the Nerds or The Dark Knight?
Obviously, this isn't even a real choice when it comes to movies, but is this movie really saying that Ramsey wants either of these guys? Are these her only choices in life? Is she even considering going out with one of them? I would have loved it if she suddenly had a girlfriend or a grandmother.
You've heard me say that you never turn your back on family.
No, never heard you say that once in one movie. It's a new concept you just invented right now.
Well, I finally did it. They killed my fucking car.
I came in like a wrecking ball. I never did.
Oh, you get...
I believe that's the cyber terrorist known as Cypher.
Cypher.
I know. It's from the Franklin area.
Stay. I'm calm. You're the case.
Yep, give it up. Good night.
Move! You are 9 hours behind the toughest target you have ever tracked.
How's it keep your bullets from freezing up?
Got to keep moving. That's the secret. Walking's good. Fighting's better. Clean's best.
You are who you choose to be.
Etwas von Single Uni. I want to buy them all. I will have them all or take none.
She sniffed and said, shoot. The glass.
This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. If you're dealing with anxiety, sadness, or anger, you're not alone. But there's a therapy service that can help. If you've been waiting for a sign to prioritize your mental health in 2022 and beyond, this is it. BetterHelp is an online therapeutic resource that offers licensed professional therapists. You don't have to leave your house and sit in a waiting room to get that you need. Just go to betterhelp.com/cinemasins, answer a few questions about how you're feeling, and they'll match you to the therapist who's right for you. Click the link in the description to get started.
Just take out.
Siri, you'd be tapped into the radios they're using. These assholes are literally going to navigate a minefield and survive, while the people with the best idea of where the mines are located are going to die like chumps. Is he trying to bother his patron? There's never been a less tense scene than Roman getting out of this vehicle before it falls on a ramp. I actually called my aunt during this moment, and honestly, talking to my aunt is my least favorite thing, next to scratching my balls with a steak knife. I was going to ask the same question, and I was about to ready really well sit about it. Slow-mo the scene, and it appears that Roman was behind the tank when it landed. This might be the first time we've ever given a sim in a movie because they didn't actually do anything wrong, and yet nobody thinks of it. This is for self-policing your own sins, you fucking dickhead movie. Now, where is this thing coming from? Isn't it all jungle to their left? How did this thing gather enough speed to catch up to them on uneven ground through what looks like mostly jungle? This is seriously the speeder bike sequence from Return of the Jedi. Also, why doesn't this vehicle just ram Lenny's bike in much worrier something? How did this out of nowhere buggy time to jump to do this when Lenny only decided to make this jump a split second? Yeah, you're right, Tom. Letting land on your car is way better than the ground. Good thinking. Should we die? Also, this series is notoriously low when it comes to where everybody is in relation to everybody else. So I'm having trouble figuring out how Dom is even in the position to catch Lenny with one of his car. Dom was on Lenny's left when she slowed that dude into the tree. Then she made this jump, complete with the collision immediately after that. But Dom is somehow in the perfect position from below to seal this and make his world move in mere seconds with what appears to be Lenny's right while this goes down.
Jacob back there, wasn't it?
Jacob? My long-lost brother that no one has ever heard of except for you, and somehow you've also seen him in person? That Jacob? Why would he show him out of the blue after 8 movies of doing nothing? That's just absurd.
Are we supposed to drive across that? Well, I said it looks like a bridge.
There's pretty much no reason to risk crossing that bridge, right? We don't even know what the stakes are. They don't even know what the stakes are. All we know is that Furiosa killed Groot's baby mama, and that's the only reason they're out. It's definitely not because they have any allegiance to Snake Plissken. You, man, why do you make me do this? Why do you make me say, is this the single biggest feat of physics ever put to film? This is not remotely how gravity and friction work. Dicks. Eat my ass to the 10th power. Also, like this. Can't quite explain why Lenny's grunt irks me so much. Except for the fact that it's the only consequence of getting hit by a big missile. Okay, so I'll drive off the mountain with that stupid move, and we can send in a jet to catch the car as it's falling down. You'll have to make sure you catch me and listen to the mountain on the other side. Don't worry. We did this on Microsoft Flight Simulator 1,000 times.
Where's the bridge?
Dom's about to do something insane, but it's less insane when you think about the alternative. Could have turned around and let the helicopters firing missiles miss him 100 more times. Hang on here. Just give me a minute. Okay, I think I'm ready to address it. Just... What's a stupid insult supposed to accomplish? Bell says, hi, by the way. This is the movie's method of saying it's just a movie without breaking the fourth wall.
What's the driving out there?
What? This is Letty, your gal, your soulmate. You've seen her drive for years. She's good at it, and that is not news to you, you dick.
You should have told me. She deserved to know. Jacob's my brother, too.
They said Mr. Nobody in this movie, I'd have at least 4 or 5 nickels. The amount of nickels isn't as important as the amount of times they've said Mr. Nobody, which is a lot, way more than 25 cents.
Speaking of incident, I've to spread the virus. Then it will be a matter of time before someone can control any weapon system, traditional nuclear, stuff we haven't even seen yet.
Stop at Buc-ee's, guys. You want to stop at Buc-ee's?
Yes, he is. I remember
More of
fighting him during that airplane sequence at the end of
Stop at Buc-ee's. Ooh, I got a pee again.
Why he didn't just blow it up or bury it next to Parallax is anyone's guess.
Mr. Nobody's transmission had one name connected to the key.
This is huge news about
Y'all been to Buc-ee's before?
He decided not to reveal this information until later. He felt like everyone needed more drama.
On an absolute whim, I grabbed this before I left our house. Turns out it was super prescient, now the woman's alive.
I'm gonna find him.
Tyler!
Old friend.
God damn, this movie's exasperating. Thank God Don went to prison and while there got to work on cars. While working on one, another prisoner was able to identify a flaw on Don's car that had the exact issue his dad's car had when he died.
Come back. You lose. You keep driving.
Winning equals forgiveness for murdering our dad.
Tell me why you killed Dad. Let us race.
Or, I don't really need an answer at all. Race the people. Also, tell me why it's so quiet right now. There are hundreds of people around here. Every cars and boat boxes and shit.
I'm driving Echo Park. 4th Street Bridge is open.
How did armed robbery make a bridge open?
The worst thing you can do to a tornado is take away their family. That's what you did to Jacob.
Sounds like Jacob did a lot of that on his own, right? Can we stop with the